Masterclass podcast. Today is going to be one of those special episodes that we're going to actually talk about something that's important for any type of traveler. But I kind of wanted to highlight for you because it is something that I'm actually going to be talking about on a radio show. So come and listen with me as we talk about travel insurance. So this is kind of your little bonus episode. I'm going to be going to some of those details, but I do also want to stress that you need to read your policies because, again, I don't know everything. No one is an expert, and each policy is written differently. So you can also reach out to me as your travel advisor, and I can kind of go over some of the pros and cons and what I recommend for that sort of stuff. So let's go into it. All righty. Now, welcome to our fun show about travel insurance and why it's important. Now, you might think of a couple of things. So first of all, some of you might be like, I am not old enough to even think about travel insurance. It's not something that's going to affect me. I am invincible. I totally get it. I am 32. Half of the time I am like, do I really need travel insurance? Am I really the person who's going to get sick and injured enough that I'm going to have to go to a hospital? But the thing is you never know when that is actually going to happen. So whether you are on a budget, whether you have, $100,000 to go on a vacation and we're going to go all out, you are definitely someone who needs travel insurance. So today we're going to cover the costs, some myths, share some stats on how it kind of affects that normal person, and real stories from travelers who were saved by travel insurance. And I will tell you, my family is one of them. We have both. I have a story of when my dad and us, we didn't think that we needed it, that it was just a money grab. And then I also have a time where after that happened, we always use it and it has still benefited us. The thing is you are paying just like you do for when you have car insurance for that what if and if it doesn't happen, but you also are praying it never does. So you honestly want it to be something money thrown away because you never want to use it, but when you need it, thank God you have it. So let's talk about it just in this. In the last couple of years, Americans have spent over $4.2 billion on travel insurance. And yet many travelers, especially younger ones, have having the idea that I will be fine, but you never know when a travel hiccup can become that financial disaster. So let's kind of dive in. I'm trying to use this new, I'm working with AI these days, and it is not always my friend, and I had it create a PowerPoint slide for me, and it is not moving. There it goes. All right. So, let's just talk about it. So 77 million Americans were covered by travel insurance in 2022. But those who purchased it, only 38% of travelers actually purchased travel insurance. And 60% of those are 46 to 60 versus only 45% of those who are 18 to 29. So it seems like younger people obviously assume that they are without travel insurance, which is understandable. But I will say that there has been times where I have rolled my ankle. My friend and I were being dumb on a cruise ship, and we decided to do the footloose thing where I was hosting her into the air, and we both fell, and she sprained her ankle, and we had to get it completely wrapped by the Royal Caribbean on their ship, and it was more expensive than I thought it would be because they did an x-ray, they checked up everything, and it was close to $1,500. So That is just something to think about, and that was in 2019, so God knows how much it costs now. And most people think that like their trip isn't expensive enough to insure. 14% are saying they're saving money because $300 when we're looking at a trip, it's like just another expense, right? And most uninsured travelers who have smooth trips don't regret not buying insurance, because you never don't regret it when you don't have anything that happens. However, when people who do have something happen and they don't have travel insurance immediately regret not getting it when they look at how much everything costs. It's the same as pet insurance. My mom and I always have a discussion about how expensive pet insurance is. And I am perfectly fine paying my $70 a month for pet insurance for my dog. The main person of the Poodle Booked It, which is my travel agency, because I would much rather pay $70 a month than $20,000, which is how much she had to pay for her dog to have cancer treatments. So that is just something that you have to think about when doing this as well. So I kind of wanted to go over some of the coverage overviews. And this is where we're going to kind of talk about the different types of travel insurance there is, because not every travel insurance claim is created equally. It is basically a package of protection, just like you do with car insurance, right? Like there are some that protect your car, some that protect you and the other person you hit's car, and there is all of those sort of some of those things. So there is the before your trip. So you have travel insurance that will cover your before the trip. So it'll cover from the day you buy the policy until the day you actually get back from the trip. And so this will also cover like your trip cancellation protection will cover if you have to cancel or postpone your trip. And this can be like if you or a family member gets seriously sick or injured, if there's a death in the family, if your home floods right before a vacation, or like certain travel bans or natural disasters happen. If you have to cancel, the insurance will cover all prepaid non-refundable costs. And I want you to think flights, hotels deposit, tour fees, cruise tickets. Now with flights, I will tell you that a lot of flight companies are doing it now where you get travel credits. So if you are wanting to get reimbursed by your travel insurance, you have to actually decline that. You can't double dip. I wish you could, but most of the time you can't. So most of this is going to just cover all of those things that you would lose if you had to cancel last minute. And so, it's kind of like, why would you want to lose all the money on a dream vacation if you can just pay a certain cost to get it covered before? And this is one of those ones where it's the before trip. Now, I will tell you each policy has a different view on what is covered. And so some of it will be like family member includes a certain percentage of your family. Like it has to live in your household. It has to be immediate family versus like grandparents, siblings, things of that nature. So make sure as you're reviewing these policies that you really are looking at what it covers. And most of the time, the more it covers, the more expensive it's going to be. Just so you know. And so when you're traveling, a whole different set of protections come in. And there's actually multiple types of trip insurances you can get. You can get the before and during, or you can just get the during, right, where it's going to cover if anything happens during the trip. And that can be travel medical insurance. So this covers if you get sick or injured during a trip. It'll pay for your doctor's visits, hospital stays, medicine, up to the policy's limits. And this is crucial because most regular health insurance plans and Medicare don't cover you outside the United States. If you break a leg hiking in Switzerland, your health insurance won't pay the Swiss health bill. Medical insurance covers up to pay those for at least, most good plans will do up to $100,000 in medical coverage. And that's what like Forbes is going to recommend. And many countries that you're going to, or actually a lot of tour companies will require that you have travel insurance for visitors. Another thing that it covers is emergency medical evacuations. And that is something that is a big ticket item because it gets very expensive very quickly. And this is going to be like if you're in a remote area or you're in a country without high level care, it is going to, and if you fall like critically ill, it is going to medevac you to another location. So if you're on a cruise ship, it's going to be getting the Coast Guard involved, medevacing you to a hospital. It's going to be if you are on an African safari and you have to go to a actual location, and those can cost up to $1 million. So 100,000, 250, even up to $100,000, $1 million. So when you're going to certain places, make sure that that medical evacuation coverage is included, and you are going to want to make sure that depending on where you go, that has a certain amount, because getting a private helicopter, private plane, getting all that sort of stuff and getting to you quickly is very expensive. So you're going to want to have that. So that you most likely will never need it, but when you do, you are going to be thankful that you do have that part of your travel insurance. Another thing that it covers is not actually the medical side of things. It is your travel delays or missed connections. So if your flight gets delayed or you miss a connection, any extra costs that you have, your hotels, your meals, catching up on your tour, travel insurance will reimburse that up to certain costs. So in 2023, about 14% of travel insurance claims were for travel delays. And they can kind of help you get to that sort of thing. It can also be for baggage loss, damaged, or delay. You have to check because each one will have like a limit towards how much per day that they'll cover, what they will do for that, and how you can do that. But that is also going to be on top of the airlines. So the airlines will also have baggage loss and delays. So you are just going to want to focus on that part of it. And some of the other benefits that can come in handy is going to be dental emergencies, emergency reunions. So it'll also cover like family members flying out if you were hospitalized abroad. Something that we don't like to think about and probably will never happen, but repatriation of remains. If something was to happen to you out of the country, it is a lot to get you back to the United States. There's a lot of legal hoops you have to go through. There's a lot of things that can happen in that situation, and your travel insurance will help you out with that. And it also has like an accidental death or dismemberment payout, which are not the fun things to talk about. I totally get it. This is not a let's have a great time on a vacation. This is the conversation, and that's why it's a bonus episode to this sort of thing. These are things to think about as an additional cost to your vacation that you want to just be prepared for, because you never know when life is going to happen. And I wish it didn't have to happen that way, right? So what is the actual cost of insurance? So travel insurance worth the cost? So generally the cost of the travel insurance is about 5 to 10%, right? So it's going to cost more if you get a plan that includes more. Like there's also a service where it's cancel for any reason insurance, and that is going to raise the cost significantly. But if that is something you're interested in, where if you just want to be able to say, I want to cancel this no matter what, I want to be able to do this, that is something that you can do, but you have to pay for it, right? Like it's all about risk and reward. So travel insurance generally costs about 5 to 10%. So if you have a $30,000 trip, that's extreme. Sorry, my bad. Let's just say $3,000 to make it easy. Your policy is going to cost you about $150 to $400, right? I'm rounding up just so that you can see like what it's going to be, and that can be for two people, that can be for whatever. But factors will affect the price. So the older you are, the more you are going to pay for travel insurance, because generally speaking, you are the ones that are most likely to actually use the policy. So please be aware that this is just a generalization of what it can cost, but age does play a significant factor in that price point. And with that, you're going to want to compare the travel insurance offered by the company you're purchasing it through versus just buying it by itself. Most of the time, I recommend purchasing travel insurance separate from the company that you are going on the trip with, just because their insurance is going to be really generic, and it's not going to cover everything that you need. However, if we get to that point and if you were booking with me, we can have a discussion on what covers what and if it's worth it to pay additional for the private, or if the better value for you is to go with the cruise or tour provider. So like it kind of, one of the things it says is, right, like, so if you're a 25-year-old and you're going out for a week in Mexico, it might cost you about $50 to $60 for your travel insurance. Now if you're a 65-year-old and you're doing a month in Europe, it can cost you, I'm going to say $750 to $800. I have clients who, I just quoted someone who was 75. He's doing a week and a half in Ireland, and with his flights and his flights and his golf package, so they're doing 10 days golfing in all of this, famous places that you go to golf in Ireland. My brain doesn't want to work today. It was about $500, and that was 8 to 9% of the cost. But that is something just to think about. Now, when it comes to the cost of insurances, not to scare you into buying something, because I want you to make an educated decision if you decide whether or not you do or do not want travel insurance. Now, I personally, as a 32-year-old, I do travel at least 4 or 5 times a year. I do an annual plan, and an annual plan won't cover a lot of the issues beforehand, but it does include all of the medical stuff on a trip, which is what I'm really focused on. But a medical evacuation by air can cost about $50,000 to $100,000 just for a general evacuation. And if you are in a remote part of Africa, if you are in Antarctica, if you are doing some of those extreme trips, it can cost even more. So some of the shorter evacuations, let's just talk about an air ambulance to